Today, every day, small cap investors visit AGORACOM knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. AGORACOM, find your dream.
Welcome to the inaugural Augusta Industries Q&A with shareholders, a production of AGORACOM in which we take the time to get questions from shareholders, get the CEO online, to get those answered in a video format. With us today, I'm happy to have back Alan Lone. He's President CEO of Augusta Industries, trades on the stock symbol AAO. What we're going to be discussing today is the Foxtech spinout. Naturally, there's a lot of excitement around that, but there are also a lot of questions around that. Alan wanted to make sure that he answers these questions head on. Alan, welcome to the Q&A.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got a bunch of questions lined up, which is great. So let's get straight to them.
Sounds good.
First set of questions comes in from Tom Ford. Tom, by the way, thanks for all the great questions. Happy to answer them. Question number one. Investors were pretty excited about the campaign that Enbridge launched to focus on Foxtech. They were on Facebook and Twitter. There's some good discussion in the comments and investor blogs. I think what should be highlighted is the winter newsletter from Saudi Aramco and the write-up about the pilot with Foxtech. More great validation. Can you expand on the relationship with Saudi Aramco and this pilot? Are we under negotiations with them for business related to this pilot?
Great question, and it truly does mean a lot to us to have Aramco mention us in any sort of write-up or article or newsletter. But as you well know, frankly, Aramco does not like us to go out, whether we're on a road show or in interviews as such, to get into details. As you probably well recall, back in the days when we got the order, we couldn't even use Aramco, the name Saudi Aramco, and I understand their position. They seem to be a little bit more secretive in this industry than anything else out there, industry-wise. So, I can't really expand on that without getting permissions, and I know how that has led in the past, even with Enbridge, without them exercising their right to publish that article on their blog, we wouldn't have been able to get a word sideways.
Right.
So I'll leave it at that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. And for everybody at home, by the way, because we've literally had hundreds of clients, I can tell you this isn't unique to Alan and Augusta. Most major companies don't want small partners using their name because they're concerned about the potential promotional liberties that small cap companies may take. Not that Alan is one of them, but seems to be one of those general rules where they're saying, look, we're happy to be doing business with you. If you have to release our name as part of a material disclosure, fine, but that's about it. And so it's not unique, and I don't want people to think that it's unique to Augusta. Next question. Do you see 60, which you broke today, $70, $80 oil as an additional catalyst for business to start flying into Foxtech?
Yeah, I don't want to step into the prediction side of the game, but every dollar helps, really. It's more the momentum that the industry and the space will have than pricing. If everyone is positive at a $50 a barrel, then you'll start seeing the arms shifting. It sure is good to have $60, $70, $80 barrel pricing, and we'll get there, but it's really the general feel in the industry, the motivation management might have, and so on. So again, that's something I could only comment on so far without trying to step into the prediction seat.
Yeah, you haven't got the crystal ball, so we'll leave it at that. Next question: how soon before the company announces its AGM and a list of potential CEOs and board members for SenseTech?
Great question. Again, so let me just walk you through the process. Ultimately, we have a few things to do here in a row. One being the AGM, a record date for what shareholders will own Sensor Tech future shares. The exchange sort of signing off on the transaction. A Ontario court, the commercial court judge signing off on a deal. We don't have a court date yet. I think once the court date is presented to us, there's a ripple effect. It goes back to presenting the circular to the exchange for a final approval, setting up a time for a record date, setting a time for an AGM, and so forth. And again, I'd hate to cut you loose here on that question. In the meantime, we are working on it, but I can't really release a guesstimated sort of date. But I would see in the next few months, we will be able to close this transaction. It's not going to drag on for 6 months, but in the next few weeks, we should have dates identified.
Yeah, in all fairness to you too.
The AGM is tied directly to that, nothing else.
Right, and in all fairness to you, these are regulatory things that are out of your control. You make applications, and you got to let courts and exchanges do their thing. You can't boss them around, that's for sure.
Yeah, trust me, I'm on the phone a couple of times a day with our lawyer, and he seems to think I'm riding him on that, but it's okay.
Next set of questions comes from Electrician. Electrician, thanks for taking the time to post your questions. First one. When is construction estimated to begin for this massive project?
For TAP, this is talking about the Trans-Africa pipeline, which is really a long process. It has been, because it's been months ago when we announced this, I should say over a year ago. But TAP is there's an allocation of the lay of the land as far as government lands possibly. This has been already allocated. That part of it is. What they're waiting on is for donors and investors. So part of it is a charity organization that's backing this project for water irrigation and such, and bringing water to areas in Africa that are not able to seek clean water for personal use and otherwise. So there's a charity part of it that's funding this, and there's the investor part, and that has not yet been done. So we're waiting on that. We are involved, but we can't push them. We're only one element out of a huge project. At the end of the day, when the phase 1, phase 2, and 3 are completed, this will be a multi-billion-dollar project. So I'm in touch. I mean, I get emails from them every once in a while, just updating us, but that's about it really that I could.
Is Fox Tech guaranteed contracts from the TAP project?
Yeah, no one's guaranteed ever. If I step in there and say yes, then I'm blowing smoke. So we're pre-qualified. Remember, the president of TAP was one of the founders of Fox Tech. Loves our technology, and appreciates everything we've done, where we're at now. He called on us. I think all the positive things have been said and done. We've put some prelim plans with some budgetary quotes and technical propositions in front of them, and he'd be a big champion, and he runs the organization at TAP. So I'd say, short of saying anything else, it's a pretty good assumption that we will be involved in some capacity.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, I'm just speaking on my own opinion now. This is nouns, but it'd be hard to imagine, given the tier of clients Fox Tech has, and the founder of TAP being so involved with Fox Tech in the past. It'd be hard to imagine the company not getting it. But then again, things happen, right? And it's a project, and you never know. It's not guaranteed, but I would say you've got the inside track. That would be my words, and I'm not putting words in Alan's mouth, that for sure. There's a question that said, when could we start seeing revenues, and do you have any revenue projections? And I'm going to maybe change that question a little bit, because no company can give projections, not in the small cap world anyways, not unless you've materially disclosed them already, and you haven't done that. But can you give us a sense for the size of the potential size of this project and what it could mean to Fox Tech as a business?
I honestly, again, I can't give any predictions at all. And secondly, the key thing is, we don't really know the width and length of this project. We know we're going to get involved, but I really have a hard time predicting even on that level.
Okay, so the scope of the project itself isn't even set yet. All right, and that's new for me. So if they don't have the scope yet, it's kind of hard to determine what your involvement's going to be.
It all depends on budgeting, to tell you honestly. Like, and if they're charity organizations and their investors don't come through, they might desize the project at some point. So I'm not privy to that information, and I just stick to my own little information.
What you can control. Okay, that's a great answer. Tom Ford comes back with a set of questions. This under the title of insider buying. And there's a question on many insiders' minds. Now that this big news is out, why is it we've had 20 million shares in volume and we still sit at 4 cents?
Good question again. I know I've answered it many times to investors, including Tom Ford, but insider buying is like a minefield, and I say that because you are really bound by certain rules that people don't see. Not that our insiders are a lot of companies that don't own much and run the board and the executives run a company without having much. We, including myself and the board members and the insiders, own plenty. But having said that, when you have a news release, you've got a blackout period ahead of time. When you have financials on a quarterly basis or an annual basis, you have a blackout period. When you have something that is a few things brewing on the M&A side, you have a blackout also. Imagine all that, and then even in an area where you're not blacked out, from the 5th of one month to the 10th of the other, and the insiders start buying and the volume goes up. And sure, that's the intention, really, is to drive. This is what Tom Ford's question is. Like to see insiders buying so the stock flies. Without even doing that, when we have a heavy day on trading, I get a call from IROC saying, what's going on? Imagine having the insiders buying at a day where we get a call from IROC. I don't really encourage that, but in a plain level field, sure, if we don't have all these different blackout periods, I understand. And we have done that in the past. You can tell from the history, from filings, who's bought when and how much. And so it's really without getting the executive board and the directors in trouble, we have to sort of shy away from encouraging any of that.
And I'm going to chime in there a little bit myself. Even then, the blackout rules, there's still some subjectivity to it. There aren't exact timelines. You can get in a lot of trouble. And look, there's a lot of insider buying at junior companies without a lot of activity. Because they don't have a lot of activity, it's pretty easy for insiders to determine when they can be buying. But I think one problem as an attorney myself, one problem that I see for Alan and the insiders is that you're constantly announcing contracts, constantly announcing new potential things happening. And I got to imagine you're blacked out so often that it's just too difficult to try and determine, if I buy today, will IROC or the OSC or anybody side with me that I didn't buy based on knowledge, and so on and so forth. So it's easier just to stay away, because for all shareholders, you don't want your insiders caught in something inadvertently, not on purpose, and just put a cloud over the company. So I've got to make sure everyone at home understands the difference between Augusta and junior resource companies that have, a few press releases a year and these big, long white periods where they can buy stock.
And I want to just chime in again. There are a lot of NDAs that we have signed with different groups and organizations. Things are in the background working away, and these are things that we've never disclosed because of the NDAs that we've signed.
Right.
And let alone someone buys and things are happening on a weekly or monthly basis, even smaller improvements, even if it's, yes, okay, let's move to point B from point A, people will get in trouble if it's ever looked into. So that's, you've summarized that well from your background as a lawyer and an investor. And the one that's been on the street for a while.
Yeah, I would say the good news is Augusta has so much going on that it's difficult for insiders to buy, and that is the story. There's
Yes.
so much going on, NDAs, potential deals, potential contracts that, that's the good news. The company, its officers and directors aren't there to buy stock. They're there to grow the company. And as a shareholder, I would say that's what I want you doing. Question regarding the recent net news release, and this applies to us, discussing the issuance of shares at 5 cents. Is this for the consultant that was mentioned in the February news release?
These shares, they're with AGORACOM. We are paying. Instead of paying cash, we're really offering to do shares for fees with George and with AGORACOM and George's team. So that sort of summarizes what we're doing there.
Right, and everyone at home, just a little color to that too, a little context that it's very advantageous for companies to do it this way. 98% of our clients do it this way because shares are issued in installments over a year. They're not all in one shot, so it's not as if we get everything at 5 cents. The higher the share price goes, the fewer the shares that are issued. And at the same time, all the issuances come with 4-month holds. So we are as aligned with shareholders and management as anybody is, and that's the advantage to that great system. Next is Justin Lies. Justin, thanks for chiming in here. Question, does management have plans to bring attention of Augusta or SpinCo to investment houses to get some analysts to cover one or both companies?
Great question. We are, and basically what we're doing, again, waiting on some of these dates to fall in place for us. We have a roadshow. We've done a roadshow round, but we will take the story of both Augusta and its units and the SpinCo to the street, to a number of people that have shown interest already. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, and I can tell you that the street loves deals where there are real revenues, real clients, real businesses, because at the end of the day, that's tough to find in the small cap space. A lot of small cap companies are built on valuations that are derived from hope and potential and possibilities, whereas Augusta, Fox Tech, all these entities as they start prevailing are actually going to be real, and the street's going to want to hear about those. His next question is, the spin-out news release says, and I'm going to summarize it here, that the spin-out to Fox Tech would result in all or large portion of CentraTech shares to the corporation shareholders on a pro rata basis. What can investors expect to be? Do you have a range for the minimum, maximum percentage of shares to be distributed back to the shareholders?
We've indicated that we're going to do the majority of that. The majority of the shares that are going to come back to Augusta will be distributed. Again, I can't pinpoint the amount. I can't give you a minimum and maximum because we don't know what elements we're dealing with. When the TSX comes back with their suggestions and the lawyers with their plan of arrangement dedicating to an amount or a percentage, then we're able to release that. I don't think there'll be, the way we're doing it, there won't be any escrowed shares, but there might be. We're asking for an exclusion. And again, these are answers I can't really predict the outcome. This is something we take up with the regulators more so than myself.
Now, bottom line, Alan, is it fair to say that you're undertaking this in order to unlock value on behalf of shareholders? So it only makes sense that philosophically you're going to try and put as much back into the hands of shareholders as allows at the time when you have more info?
For sure. As soon as we find out more, and the intention is really to unlock the value and have Fox Tech shine on its own through this transaction.
Next question is, once the spin out is done, and this sounds premature, but I'm going to ask it because Justin did take the time to ask it. Once the spin out is done, and presuming it's done, what is Fox Tech prepared to do in order to help protect that share price of CentraTech?
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought long and hard about this. Is that with the opinions that we have already of the valuation, the invested amount of dollars, future projects that, of course, I can't, unless I publish them right now of what we anticipate. I think that will carry the company a long ways. And the technology itself and the resounding yeses we're getting from clients will hold that together. I'm presuming he's not asking how we go out and fend this deal out in the market. There are ways of doing that, whether the company can do a proceeding with normal action to buy back stock, a market maker in place that we've had. We've had discussions with a number of people. There's a number of things that we can do, but we can only address these as they come together. If there was an escrow of any sort on the shares, it'd be very tight to trade. Can't see. That's why they do escrows, and you wouldn't see a lot of shares being dumped as he might have been assuming here.
And I'm going to chime in there and say the following, which is the shares, Justin, are going to be going back to shareholders of Augusta. And you guys know better than anybody at the end of the day what Augusta's doing, what Foxtech is doing, what Markon is doing. So why would you be dumping? You're happy that you've got these unlocked shares. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I would be happy to get these unlocked, these shares back to me, and then say, great, now I've got shares in two great entities, and I know they're growing, and I see all these great things going on. Why would I dump? At the end of the day, these shares aren't going to the hands of brand new people for free. They're going into the hands of existing shareholders who wanted this and waited for this. So why would you dump on your own stock? I wouldn't be too worried about it. That's my opinion personally from my experience. Question back from Tom Ford. How confident are you that you'll actually get exchange approval for the spin out?
I think exchange approval is just a matter of a normal course of action, call it red tape or otherwise. Exchanges always have comments. They always have addendums and amendments to any kind of plan going forward, and that's very welcome because they know what they're doing. But it's not a traffic stopper. We've already had our initial conversations, I should say. Our lawyers and the exchange have talked about this. We've gone back and forth. At the stage when we signed that share purchase agreement and announced about it, even that press release was reviewed by a number of times. IROC, the exchange, and our lawyers put that together. That is inclusive of the share purchase agreement and the greater plan to go forward.
Yeah, and I've got to tell you from my own personal experience, 20 years in this business, I don't recall a spin out ever being rejected by the exchange. We see, and Tom Ford, you might be referencing situations at big levels where big media companies are trying to buy each other and they get rejected for antitrust reasons, and we see that happening at very large levels. But at the small cap space, when you're doing a spin out, I've never seen an exchange. I've never seen a company say we couldn't do this spin out at the end of the day because the exchange rejected it. So I've never seen it, and this seems pretty normal course as far as I see. Next question: can you comment on what stage you're currently at with Canada Natural Resources?
No, I mean we will put that in a press release once we get to it. Are we moving forward? Yes. We have an NDA. Yes. And the last meeting was the bottom of last week. That's all I could say. I can't go any further than that.
I like the smile on your face, though. I'm picking that up there. How many tenders have been put out in India that the corporation has applied to, and how many opportunities with Indian oil companies were not put out to tender that the company also applied to?
Awesome question. Great question, really. That's probably Tom Ford again, right?
Right. Yeah. This set is from Tom.
He's very knowledgeable. He knows how to do due diligence. I like that. And Tom knows this. We've approached India in the past in a multi-path scenario and parallel scenarios, I should say, by going after public and private tenders. With the experience that we had, which was not great, this time around, we're really not going for public tenders. We're going, as Terry had traveled all across India, focused and honed in on getting our technology approved, spec to, and leading on to quotes. We currently have 4 scenarios that we're involved in, but we're not that we're shying away totally from public tenders, but in India, it's a little different. It's a long process, and it just hasn't been the easiest for us, and we chose to go the other route. So 100% of what we're doing right now is one-on-one private and not public tenders.
All right, great, and that makes sense. I actually love the logic behind that, because I was actually curious when I saw that question. I was curious what the answer was going to be. That's awesome. So last two questions, having more almost to do with structures and things like that. In your opinion, do you see the requirement for Markon? And I'm sure what he means is Augusta after the spin out, when it just has Markon inside of it. So Tom, hopefully I'm not overstepping my bounds there, but do you see a requirement for Augusta to do a reverse split given the 250 million shares outstanding?
I wouldn't, these are thoughts that we have been introduced to, but as of right now, we don't have any plans to do that. I mean, I've seen public companies with larger floats. There are plans for Augusta. There are plans for Markon in the future, which we will bring you abreast. But right now, we'll hold on that till that comes through. Plans, I mean, business-wise, what we're planning on doing after we do the spin out. But at this point, no, I'm not encouraged by doing a reverse split. Things can change, companies do that, but till I see some value and I get sold on that idea, then I could consider that. But again, that can change.
Last question. Has either Foxtech, I guess as a subsidiary, or Augusta as a whole, ever received a takeover? Now, he actually specifically asked a friendly offer, but...
I mean, let's not go through the names. The answer is no.
So you haven't received any offers to buy either the subsidiary or the whole company or anything like that?
Nothing that's material enough to disclose. Let's put it that way.
All right. Alan, that concludes all the questions. I really appreciate this. You've done a great job of answering these questions online by posting and speaking to people by post, but I think it's important that you took the time here. And look, you're busy. You're calling your lawyer a couple of times a day, just him on this deal. The fact you've taken this amount of time to sit here and answer questions visually by video for everyone to see. Before we sign off, any last comments you want to make about anything, since we're here talking about Augusta and we've gone through this Q&A? Anything that you want to discuss or get out to people?
I would say just bear with us. We're working as hard as we can, as fast as we can. We can't control the regulators or the courts or the exchange, but I know everyone's so excited, probably more excited than I am, perhaps at sometimes, and they are launching questions which are fruitful. Share your ideas. I don't mind. Everyone knows me in the shareholder base that's close enough. From small and large investors, I'm always on email and on now with you all on AGORACOM, but things do take time, and we're trying to produce something quality. This is in parallel of running two business units at once and a company that is public. So things do take time. Bear with us, be patient, and I'll do my utmost to do you and I the best, because we're equal. We're all shareholders at the end of the day.
Well said, Alan. Couldn't have said it better. Thanks so much for joining us. I got to tell you, as a shareholder, I'm excited not about the next 3-4 months in this process, but I'm excited about the next 3-4 years because of all the great products. The third-party validation tells me that your best days for each of the entities are in front of them, and I think it's a great time to be a shareholder of Augusta.
Totally agree, and I appreciate you recognizing that for sure.
Have a great day, everyone. You've been watching Alan Lone. He's President CEO, as you know, of Augusta Industries. You know its stock symbol AAO. Thanks to all of our shareholders who took the time to come in and post questions. And next time, let's see even more people posting. But we know that these guys did such a great job that they probably asked a lot of duplicate questions for that everybody else was thinking. So looking forward to your feedback. Once this video is now done and you've watched it, please post your feedback. What did you like? What did you want more information on? Because this is an ongoing process, and we're happy to have you, and we're happy to be a part of the communications. Have a great day, everyone. Alan, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.
You too, George. Have a good weekend.
Same to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.